Well, we're kind of getting ready, and but I'm going to sit close because people may sometimes they kind of come in at the end. So find your seated position and sit on it, and crossing your legs the second way, not the first way. So whatever way you normally cross, try to change and do the other one. And okay, people are coming in now, so I'm going to keep talking for a second. We're going to start with a mudra and in honor of Joe, and she's going to be back. She is back, but she said she wasn't going to teach tonight, so that's why I'm teaching. And so thinking of her with the mudra and thinking of all of us, this is a mudra for all of us. So we're going to just hold your finger, just interclasp your fingers kind of in front of your stomach. I'm going to move back a little bit. So in front of your stomach, and then you take the middle fingers out of that and touch them together. So this is one that we have learned from Joe. This is the, as they call it, the Matangi mudra, and it represents inner harmony. And so I think that's for us, for sure. But it's also about calming the heart, about calming the stomach, any stomach's distress. So one thing I thought was interesting about it, because, you know, these mudras go way, way back, but this one is for times of inner tension that create stomach distress. And I thought, see, I know what they're talking about. So calming the heart, calming the inner distress, bringing inner peace. So just close your eyes, relax your face, soften your jaw. So your fingers, when they're in front of your stomach, kind of right in front of your stomach, the solar plexus, you draw your elbows down and your armpits up as you would. And then how the middle fingers are facing kind of depends on you and what you feel like with your arms. So they wouldn't face straight up toward the ceiling because that would change your elbows too much. So they'll either kind of stretch at an angle upward or maybe out in front of you. And it's just however is comfortable for you. And then just go in and prepare for yoga. So with this mudra, just lift up through the entire spine. So from the tailbone lifting, which it is, and the sacrum lifting, which it is, lift up all the vertebrae that you can imagine you're lifting, and softly too. So the harder the action, the less the awareness. So try not to be hard about it, but try to just visualize your spine and try to draw your abdomen back to hold on to the core strength to help your lower back too. So just breathing, being here, go in, prepare for yoga. And with your chest still lifted, bow your head to your heart and unclasp your hands and just bring them down to your thighs, palms up. And then open your eyes in front of your shins and bring your head back up. So yeah, I like that mudra. And I've gotten a little more interested in mudras since Joe's been teaching them. I thought they were fine, but now that I've read a lot more about them, they've got a lot of benefits that I think might be just perfect for us right at this time in our lives and just this particular time in history. So one of the things there's good for is mental acuity. So just thinking what we might like. So we're going to lie on our back. So lie on your back and squeeze your knees in, and we're not going to do too much of that. So just enjoy the few moments on your back and bring your knees over your hips and your shins parallel to the floor, creating a right angle with your legs, with your thighs and your shins. And so, you know, Kristen, if you did that, you could even put your legs on an ottoman if it didn't feel good to hold your legs up. So just be there, yeah. So, and then stretch through your feet. So you really want your knees right over your hips, not close to your chest. So yeah. And so it's a little bit longer through the front body that way, and a little bit closer to the bottom of your buttocks that way. And then just press through your heels and draw your toes back toward your shins, keeping your legs just the way they are, just the way they are. And then point your toes away from the tops of your feet and keep your knees just the way they are, so that you're doing this with your abdomen and with your energy that you've got in your legs. Now, keeping everything the same, just stretch your right leg straight, not to the floor, but straight out in front of you, or not up so much either, but out. Yeah. And then stretch through it and stretch through the foot and really feel energy in the foot, and then bring your knee back. So now it meets the other one and they're identical. And then take the other leg, the left leg, and press that away. And same idea, just really stretching through the heel, really stretching through the foot, bringing a lot of energy into the feet. And then bring your knee back, that knee back. Good. Now cross your right ankle over your left knee, creating a figure 4. And just be here for a moment, trying to levelize the buttocks best you can. So trying to make the shin level, but bring the thigh closer. Both of those ideas at once. Yeah. And if you're really flexible and this is easy for you, you can just bring your shin right down to your stomach. Just bring it right onto your ribs. But for those of us who can't do that, we just do our best to levelize. And then the other side. Do the other side. So now the left over right. And that might be very different. So always. And be where you can be comfortable. So levelizing the shin is the first order of business. And then the second one is to draw the shin as close as you can to your chest, to your abdomen. But that's the secondary idea. The first one is to get as much levelness as you can, and also both buttocks the same. Good, very nice. Now uncross, put your feet on the floor. Now stretch your right knee into your chest and stretch your left leg out onto the floor. So now the left leg stretches out onto the floor, really creating energy through the feet. So I'm going to just say, because I know you do too, but I'm always reading and I'm interested in anything that has to do with stress reduction, since part of my career was involved with that. But really what they say is, when you're stressed out, to bring as much energy into your feet as possible is excellent. And I thought, isn't that the truth? Because stress is in the head. And your feet need attention. Bring the other knee and stretch the right leg out. And I thought, yes, that makes so much sense to me. And this wasn't a yoga thing. This was just an everyday person thing. Just bring your awareness, your attention to your feet. So the extended foot, bring a lot of attention to that, so that you feel like it's energized and that you can feel the whole sole of the foot. And the same on the bent knee foot if you can. And then switch back to the first one. So bring the right knee in and the left leg out. So really stretching through that foot, stretching through that leg, both feet very conscious. Now that I'm mentioning it, I'm looking at the feet, I really think that's the idea. Now, take the right leg and just stretch it straight up. You can hold on behind your thigh if you'd like to, but definitely stretch it up. Yeah, good. Good. So now two legs are forming a right angle, the left and the right. Very nice. And now squeeze the right knee in, bring the left leg back, stretch the right leg out, and do all the same there. So now again, lots of energy. And that's so appropriate, isn't it? Anyway, yoga is perfect for us in yoga, because in yoga, we want to involve everything in our poses. So this is perfect. Stretching through that right leg, stretching through the right left foot too. Then bring the bent knee leg up. And you can hold on behind the hamstring if you like, and stretch it up. Good. So I like looking at the right angle this way too, because you don't think of it sometimes, but this is a right angle and it looks really nice. And then squeeze that knee in and bring the other knee back in. And then roll over to the side and come up. And then get what you need for child's pose. So we're going to start tonight in child's pose, just to get ourselves oriented toward props. If you need props for your child's pose, if you need something under your buttocks or your knees, or if you need something under your head or whatever you need, some of you need nothing, but you always have to ask yourself, what would be the best for me? Because you're trying to take care of everything. This pose should be so comfortable. By the time you get into this pose, it should just feel so comfortable. That's why I like you to use props. And then when you get into it, the thing that's so lovely about it is that it's really from head to tailbone. And that's such a nice long stretch for your spine. So just use the awareness of the stretch back down into your sacrum and tailbone and forward toward your head and neck. So you're just feeling long and soft as you can be. Just breathe and stretch and breathe. So we're just going to be here for a minute. Feel your hands. Feel your hands and really make them feel like dog pose hands. And then take your left hand and take it under your right upper arm and stretch it to the right. And then do whatever you need to do to regain or maybe even increase the length on your right side body. But you're also trying to get as close to the shoulder. And of course, Kristen, you're being very careful. And then, so then you get where you're going, and then you stretch the right arm a little more, even, and then undo the left arm and bring it back. So you're stretching your left arm straight forward, and your right arm goes under the left upper arm. So do that one too, and breathe. So just really getting a nice twist and also a lot of length on the left side body. Create as much as you can. Breathe. And then undo and stretch that arm straight out again. And then walk your hands back a little bit so that you're going to push yourself up. And then turn your toes under and push down with your hands and straighten your legs. And then walk your hands back towards your feet, palms up. Inhale, lift your chest, come back up. So now get what you need for the preparation for pigeon pose. So we're preparing for the preparation. So what you need to give you a hint is something to support the bent knee buttock or the leg and the back thigh. Those have to be completely parallel. So that's one thing you're going to need. Maybe a blanket, maybe more. And then you're going to need something for your hands to be on and push up from. But that will either be your hands or blocks or maybe a chair. So I think the determining factor here is how your knees feel to start with. So to be really kind to yourself, this pose is so beautiful. Don't go into it with any idea that you're just going to try to push through something that doesn't feel right. So for today, for me, and this is not usually true, but today I feel that my knees could use some support. So instead of, and I don't usually use it, but I'm going to today. So the right foot is going to come, the right leg is going to come is forward and bent, and the left leg is straight behind you. And because I'm up a little higher than I would normally be, I've got a chair. You might not need it. Here's where we want to be. We want our hands down, our chest up, our spine up, and our legs completely consciously down. So for me today, but you might use blocks, you might just use your hands, doesn't matter. So I'm using a chair and I'm going to lift my chest up, pressing my elbows down. But you do whatever it is that you think you should do. Now take your attention to your left thigh. I'm not a mind reader, but I would think that for most of us, it's that back leg that needs more attention. The front leg is so obviously doing what it's doing. The back leg needs to rotate internally. So the front leg is rotating externally. The back leg is rotating internally. So you have to just be aware of that and try to take your outer left hip and leg and roll that down toward the floor so that the inner left leg is almost rotating up. And then if you can get that, then you should feel the little toe on the left foot. But most important is to feel the waist to the hip area, both sides, as being long. And then the back ribs move in. Lift up with your chest. Breathe, just breathe. So we do a lot of actions to get into these poses, and now we're in this pose. So now just be in this pose and let your spine sort of come into your awareness, the length of it, and the curve of it, and the lift of it. So breathe. And now undo that. So we all have our ways of undoing it. I just bring my back foot forward, but you can do whatever feels right to you. And then we're going to take the left leg is going to be the front leg, and the right leg is going to extend behind us. Could be very different on this side, I would imagine. So on this side, orient yourself again. And make sure, though, that the support that's under your bent knee buttock is enough for the right leg. Because for most people in this pose, it's the back leg that needs to be supported. If we were just straight, now some of you might be flat on the floor. I haven't really noticed yet. You might be just flat on the floor with your buttocks and your knee and your back leg. Great. But for most people, the front leg is easier to get down than the back leg, usually. And so lift your chest up. Breathe. And when you're lifting your chest up then, you might want to take your trapezius skin and just tease it down. It's not like anything very aggressive. It's more of a small action of trying to take the trapezius and roll it down. And the more gentle you are, the more success you might actually have. Breathe. And then we're going to roll to the bent knee side to come out of this. And we're going to go back into it again. So we're going to do it again. And so your support might change because we've done it once. And it's funny how one time might change everything, might change it a little bit anyway. So if you think that's the case, just be ready for that. But bring your left leg back behind you and your right knee is bent. And you're right. So, it just depends on the lift you've got underneath you, how this is all going to go. For me, I'm just happy as can be because I've got so much lift today, but my knee feels good. See, so that's the key. Now lift up really this time, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. You might need less support, but I want you to draw your attention to your back ribs. And take your back ribs up away from your waist with your awareness and forward. So if we could do anything, we would draw our back ribs further forward and our chest up more. So see how that goes for you. And breathe. So you might not need so much for your hands. You might just see, do I not? What feels good? In the final pose, of course, you have to take both hands away from the floor. So you got to be, that's the thing about getting really settled here and getting really tall with your spine and breathing. Just breathing and lifting and broadening too. This pose is, to me, this is a beautiful pose because once I get the back leg, then I feel like the back leg and the spine are just one unit. And that without the back leg, the spine just couldn't lift. So use everything you can to create the lift, but then be soft about it too. Breathe. And then roll to the right hip toward the right hip and come out of that aspect of the pose and go into the second leg. So the left leg is forward, the right leg is back. And we're on the second time, so this might be different. Certainly getting into it is a little easier because you already know what you need to do, and it might even be better this time. But one thing that we all need, and it is so challenging, is this back rib area to go in enough to really create the extension up with your spine. So see if you can, and don't be harsh about it, but see if you can center and lift your spine as much as possible first. Then if you can draw your back ribs forward as much as you can and lift up again and breathe. And then see, maybe you don't need so much for your hands, I don't know. You have to make your own decision there, but lift your whole spine up and the back leg and the back little toe, really conscious, stretch back and then up. And then roll over to the left side and come out of the pose. So we're going to do it one more time, but this time we're going to come forward. So I'm not going to use my support now. You might need some support. You might wish you had some support, but the right leg is going to come forward. The left leg is going to come back. We're just still doing the prep. We're not going to do Ekapada Raja Kapotasana today. We're doing the prep for it. So make sure that you're level and comfortable through your hips, because now we're going to sort of, instead of going up, we're going to go out. So you might start, maybe you can just lie your torso right on the floor. If you can, go for it. But if you're like some of the rest of us, and especially if you're up with support under your hips, you got to be a little slower about it. You got to walk your hands forward maybe. See how that goes. Maybe you could bring your forearms down. So once you bring your forearms down, if that's working for you, you might think, oh, I can really lay myself out here on my belly, and I'm just looking. Yeah. Yep, a lot of us can do that. That's really great. But whatever you do, it's still so cool. It just feels really good. And there's a lot of ego gratification in bringing your front body just laying it on the floor, but don't go for that. Go for feeling great in your own body. And then wherever you are, then start walking yourself back so that you're going to come out of it. And then you're going to roll over to the right hip and you're going to switch and go to the other side with your left leg forward, your right leg back. And you'll start to see in this pose, and we obviously watching your poses, the pose, I can see that. But one thing that I've really noticed about it is so much of whether I can come forward is dependent on the front hip. So you might notice that too. When the front hip is the flexible one, a little easier. So if this is the case for you, whatever is the case for you, either lay yourself out onto the floor or bring your hands forward, bring your forearms down, whatever it is for you. I would love to just bring my head to the floor, and on this side, I can. So I'm just very happy. So being happy in yoga is a wonderful thing, and we are so lucky, aren't we, to get into a pose. And once you get into it, be in it. Now we're not just trying to do the pose. Now we're into it, and we're completely lengthened, however we've done it. And then bring yourself back out of it safely, carefully. And now get your chair. So I'm going to move my support away and get a chair, which I was using before. But now we're just going to take a little detour here And we're gonna step through our chair backwards, as we do, so that the back of the chair is facing our chest. And then we're gonna take our, so if you, I hope we all have a chair that we can step through. Yeah. If you can't step through your chair, then you have to do a sideways twist thing. Because we can't be breaking through chair backs. But if you're comfortable, then really in this one, your feet are close to the chair feet, so your knees are wide. And then I'll mirror you, but you're going to bring your left forearm over the top of the chair. And then before you do anything else, you're going to center your spine and lift. So you hear the sit bones are really critical to the centering and lift of the spine. So feel both sit bones, and then feel the spine lifting up from that and inwardly, upwardly centered. And then take your backhand to the chair seat and just start turning toward the right with your chest lifted, everything you know. So we're just breathing as we go. Nice, big, nice, not big breaths, but nice, complete breaths that you know are helping. Like you're breathing. One of the things they say sometimes is breathe into your stomach area. And that is the way we do breathe, isn't it? We do diaphragmatic breathing in yoga. We don't breathe by lifting our shoulders up and bringing them back down. We breathe through the diaphragm. So that's how we're doing it here too. And then when you come back to center, keep yourself just really nice and tall. And then you get back to the center, and are you still centered? And then the other forearm across. And then lifting up tall before you go. I think if I've learned anything, it's lift before you go. Because once you go, it's too late. So lift up and center, and then start turning toward the left. So really lifting up and centering and breathing. And it should just feel just a beautiful, beautiful twist. This is an easy twist. We like this one. And you can keep everything so level, thanks to your feet, thanks to your buttocks, lifting and breathing and going, and then come back to center. And then we're going to go to the first side again, but this time we're going to pay a little more attention to our knees. And so this time, put your left forearm across the chair. And then here's one way. There's a lot of ways to control your knees, but one way is to put so much attention into your feet that your feet are touching very completely, and there's no question about that. And so you won't forget that. And then you lift up, centering your spine, and you start turning to the right. And you'll notice, the feet just feel maybe a little more alive, but they also feel like they're stabilizing the knees, and that's the whole idea. Lifting up, going, as you just really enjoy this. So the spine lifting and then twisting is great. Breathe. Your left ribs are coming forward, your right ribs are moving back, and your feet have saved the day. If you're like me, my knees have just been very happy. Then come back to center. Because usually the knees shear a little bit. We don't mean to do that, but we do. Right forearm over the top, left hand, straighten up, lift up, connect your feet down, really put energy there, and then start turning to the left. So spine up, centered, going. So we're just, this time the right ribs are coming around, the left ribs are going back. The left armpit is opening up. I feel like when I twist, that back armpit can really get open, and the elbow will help. Take the elbow back behind you. And then come forward. And now come out of your chair. And turn your chair the other way. And we're going to do a pose right now that we know pretty well, but we're going to do it on a chair, and we know this pretty well too. We're going to do chair malasana. So you're going to sit on the edge of your chair, with your buttocks and a bit of your hamstrings, and you're going to take your feet wide. And So I never saw Mr. Iyengar do chair malasana. He did malasana. I never saw him do chair malasana or saw a picture of it or anything. But in the regular malasana, when he's in the deep squat, ready to go in malasana, he does the same thing that he does in Virabhadrasana 3. So he takes his hands together and he stretches them out in front of him. You know, it's this proud, I am ready, and so do that. And when you do that, center your spine, but recognize that your back body now is broadening too, and then hold your abdomen firm and take your hands out further in front of you, and then bring them down to the floor. And you take your fingers back toward the heel side of your foot, further back, and your palms are up. So you know this one, I hope, where you're looking down at the palms of your hands, really. Fingers are pointing straight back. Thumbs are kind of looking toward each other. And then when you get here, let your knees kind of hug your outer arms a little bit. Not aggressively, but just comfortingly. And then take your awareness to your sacrum and your neck. You know, they always say lower back and neck are best friends. So if you have a lower back problem, your neck probably bothers you and vice versa. This pose stretches both the opposite direction from each other. So now, if you can, walk your hands back further and hold on to the chair legs. Do that. And then your knees will hug around your upper arms, just like they did before. You know, you might notice though, that when you take your hands back and hold on to the chair legs, that can have an effect on the inner legs. So you might notice that and decide if that's good or not. Relax your head. This particular version of Malasana is good for all the muscles of your back, every one of them, and there are a lot of them. Now take your left hand to your left knee. Take your right hand to your right knee, hold your abdomen up, press your hands down to come up. So when you came up, your back was just nice and happy about it. So chair malasana, we've got chair malasana, and that's another, we could do it again. But those of us who can are going to move on to a malasana from the floor. So I just want to say a few things about that. One of them is that if you do a regular malasana, then this is easy for you. But if you don't, then sometimes you're not quite sure how your knees are going to respond to it. And the other thing, Helen, I'm going to talk to you. I want you to think when you go into this, how your ankles feel, how your feet, your ankles, and your Achilles feel. This puts so much pressure into your ankles. I just want you to think about that. And I have some ways of relieving that, and I'll talk about them. But if you think that's too much, you go back to the chair, okay? Yeah. Okay. The rest of us that want to try this from the floor, some of you, you know, you can just do the full thing and no problem. But I'm giving myself support because of my knees today. But you come down into the deep squat to begin with, right? So we're in a deep squat to begin with. And generally, and this is the one where Mr. Iyengar is like this. So we'll do that in a minute. But make sure your knees are comfortable. That is what I'm saying. Make sure your knees feel perfect. Because if they don't, you might need to lift your heels up more, or you might need to go back to the chair. I want you to think about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate our knees, and then we're going to bring our outer upper arms to the inner knees. And I've got a chair here to show you that sometimes this is a good place to stop and evaluate. That's the only reason I have it here. So for some people, this would be a good place to stop and practice the leg part. But if you're still good, then you take your upper arms even deeper down and you grab behind for your ankles, and then you relax your head. So looks to me, Helen, like you're doing a great job. So you've made your assessment there. One of the things I did when I was working on it and thinking about my ankles is I put more weight back into my heels. Like I brought, even though I was deep into it, I brought my shins a little more into my awareness. So if we're all in this, just let your head relax. This pose is a pose that relaxes the head and neck and the tailbone and the sacrum. So there's the same similar idea as really child's pose, except that our legs are doing so much. Good, beautiful, really nice, really nice. That's great. Beautiful, really nice. Good, good, good. Now we're going to start coming out of this. So come out of it really carefully. And then when you come out of it, then you straighten your legs. So just to double check everything, put your hand on a chair or something, step your legs back, and just lengthen and straighten and just be in your most beautiful chair dog. Just a nice chair dog. Because we're going to use that chair in a second. Beautiful. I love, no matter how advanced a student is, when I look at chair dog or when I look at dog, I just think it makes me happy. It is a beautiful pose. So centered, isn't it? You feel so centered in this pose. You know it so well. Bend your knees, step forward and come up. So then we're going to, so tonight what we're doing, as you notice, is we're starting on chairs and we're moving to the more traditional pose. So same here. We're going to sit on our chair and we're going to sit on it sideways. So if you sit with your left hip to the chair, no, right? Yes, left hip to the chair, back. I'm mirroring you. So I'm just going to turn my chair like this so you can see this. We've done this, you know this pose. This is Pasasana, but it's on a chair. So we're going to take first, we're going to just sit up really tall as we can, so that every side body is equally long, sit bones are equally down, feet are equally down, everything is down. And then we're just going to do that chair twist that we do. So we're going to turn toward I guess you're turning toward the left, aren't you? Sorry, it doesn't really matter. But turn, so you're twisting, and then lean towards your thighs and take your right elbow over your left knee. So when you do this, you should be turning your torso to the side. You have to, because it's what happens when you take your elbow to the outside of the knee. And then you're going to take your hand, your right hand, down to the chair leg. So you're holding onto the chair leg with your upper arm close to the elbow, to the outside of the knee, and your other hand at the top of the chair, and you're just going to twist. And the twist is long. It's from the tailbone through the whole spine. Pasasana has a really interesting long twist to it. And then lift your sternum and breathe. Lift your sternum and breathe. So you're looking sideways with your whole torso, I would assume, and yet the spine is so long. Now, I'm going to use your hand that's on the chair top and push and carefully come up out of this. So chair Pasasana. And sometimes we do it at the wall, but it's just as nice in the middle of the room. I'm going to just turn my chair the other way. So then we're going to sit the other way. And again, you want your sit bones, your torso, your feet, your knees, everything organized. And then you're going to take your hands back to the chair and lift your spine up and turn. Turn toward the chair, and just like that chair, you know, when we walk our legs back and forward, this is the same twist here. So you're getting this really nice twist. And then you lean forward and you take the elbow to the outside of the knee. So you're drawing the elbow, you know, as low as is comfortable for you. And certainly you're turning because that's what has just happened. And then your hand comes down to hold the chair leg. So then lift and lengthen. Lift your spine away from your tailbone and your sit bones and turn. And just breathe and turn. So that you're really getting a nice long twist. That's what it is. Long from the back, from the tailbone to the neck. And breathe. And then use that top arm and push with it to carefully come up. So that's chair Pasasana. Now, Pasasana from the floor is very similar to Malasana from the floor, in that if you can do it with your feet flat and you're in a deep squat, that's great. Most people, I think, need something under their heels. Even in the book, Iyengar says that. Have something under your heels if necessary. I'm going to have a bit under my heels. I really like Pasasana. But it's a deep knee bend, you know. So if you're not good with that, you got to go back to the chair. But if you are good with it, you squat down. Now maybe I'll turn to face you. Again, Mr. Iyengar always says things that amuse me because he just says go right into the pose. And for a lot of people, they just couldn't go right into the pose. But the other thing he says in this pose, which I thought was funny or so true, is he goes, after you've secured the balance, like it's like, right, you better secure the balance. And the balance is your heels, your buttocks going low, and your chest leaning into your thighs, right? That should just feel good. If that doesn't feel good to you, you need to lift up higher with your heels, or you need to come back to the chair, because this pose should feel really good, right? So we're going to take our left, now this is securing the balance. We're going to take our left elbow over our right knee. And when you do that, the balance shifts, and you've got to decide what is your partner to the left elbow. You've turned, that changes so much. So turn, and then be where you feel like your spine is safe and you're lifting your chest, and breathe. And then turn. We're going to do this twice. So this is just the start. We're going to go a little deeper in this in a minute. But you're turning as much as you can, and then you're turning back. And Helen, I really want to say again, good for you, but make sure you feel okay through the ankles. And everybody else, take your right elbow over your left knee and turn. When I do that, I usually put my other hand on my sacrum, and then I turn. So you're just doing best you can. A lot of work into the ankles, huh? You should ankles and shins. And then undo. And then then push yourself up into more of a straight leg. Maybe just Uttanasana with your arms forward. Just get yourself so that you feel like everything's still good. Because knees, ankles, those are the things. Knees, ankle, everything else, your balance. So we're going to try it again, but then I'm going to show you the way that I work on it. Because in this pose, I think we all know, and maybe you can do the clasp. This pose is a noose pose, and the noose is the arms wrapping around the knees and the lower back and clasping. But some of us can't do that. If you can do that, you're going to do that. The rest of us, make sure you're comfortable and that you're up high enough, And you're going to take your left elbow over your right knee. But then now, you're going to take this hand that's up and you're going to put it on the floor. So you're going to put it on the floor. This hand is the one where the thumb would turn down to the floor and you'd wrap your elbow around your shins. You'd wrap your forearm around your shins. But suppose you can't do that. Then the hand down is really great. Your other arm kind of wraps around towards your, imagine that you could touch. So you bring your back arm as far towards your thigh as you can, and then turn. So you secured the balance with your hand that's down, with your awareness into the legs, and your spine is turning, and you're breathing, and you're lengthening. Be sure you're lengthening. Chest forward and up, and breathe, and then come back to center. And then let's just stand up for 1 second and get those ankles to feel like they're okay. And then come back down. Maybe you didn't need that. I felt like that was a good idea. Now the other elbow over. So now the right elbow. So this is a really different side. Maybe better, maybe not. If you can make the class, do it. Otherwise, you can put your right hand on the floor. And then your left hand comes behind you because you don't want to shear your knees off. So the twist is all the way through the spine and you're turning. So the twist is lengthening and turning and everything that's makes it so beautiful. Yeah, great. Good. Nice. Good. And then undo. And then push yourself up. Push yourself up. So now we're going to lie down on our back for a second. So we're going to lie down on our back and with a belt. So grab a belt and lie down on your back. And belt your left foot straight up. Just take your left foot up and belt it. So the left leg is up. And you just get your back comfortable. Feels kind of nice because we've been doing all sorts of things with our knees being bent. So now this leg is straight. But take your right ankle and over your left knee in figure 4. So just doing a gentle figure 4 and not going crazy. Just using the rotation in the right thigh, the external rotation in the right thigh, and try to bring the left leg forward a little bit. You could even push your right knee away. We already did figure 4 before, but funny how your body is like, oh, that's right, I can do this. So it's just very nice, and breathe, stretching up through your left leg, a lot of awareness into your left foot. And then undo your right leg and slip your right foot into the belt and take your left foot ankle over your right knee into that figure 4 again. So you're rotating your left thigh externally. You're pushing your left knee away, bringing your right foot forward. Just getting whatever you can get to get as level a shin as you can. And then, of course, you can bring your foot even closer, your right foot even closer, maybe. I don't know. You can try that. But then undo your left ankle and put your left foot back into the belt. And now, this is where we make our choice, either figure 4 or Padmasana with the right foot. So if you can bring your right foot into Padmasana, and that might take, if it's easy for you, go for it. And if it's easy for you, just do the whole thing, Padmasana. But if you're just seeing how you are today, then get your left foot is being held by a belt, and that just helps get your right leg oriented into Padmasana. So you can see pretty clearly how your knee feels when your right leg is in Padmasana and your left leg is up, and breathe. And then undo that and take your right leg up into the belt and take your left foot into Padmasana if you can, if that works for you today. If that's not happening, fine. You can just stay in figure 4, that'll be okay. Right leg is up, left leg is in Padmasana. Trying to bring the right foot a little closer maybe. Just whatever is right for you, breathing. And then undo the left leg out of Padmasana and then take the belt off and put your feet on the floor and roll over to the side and come up. So of course we were just doing that because we're gonna do our, what we're gonna do is Ardha Matsyendrasana 2. And so that requires putting one leg in Padmasana. So I'm gonna change my sticky mat. But we're going to sit in Dandasana to start with. So have support under your buttocks if you need. Now, this is a good example of if you need support under your buttocks for the safety of your knee, then you're going to need another blanket to use for your knee. So just doing what you think is best for you, sitting up into Dandasana. Taking me a while here, but maybe it's taking you a while too. Maybe you're already in it. Okay, so Ardha Matsyendrasana 2. So I'm sitting up pretty high, but that's because I know my knee will appreciate it. I just know that. Not every day, but just today. So now we're going to bring our right leg into Padmasana, or if you can. Now, if you get there, and you think this is not right for me, then you then lie back down and do figure 4 on your back, because that would be a lot better for you than to strain. Don't strain. This pose is so beautiful, but don't strain. So in general, though, we're going to take our right arm and we're going to hold on to our left foot. So then that's the second piece of it. When you're leaning forward, see, I've got supporting my knee now because I just know that's going to be better for me. It's not usually what I have to do, but today. So I'm holding on to this. And then my other foot is in Padmasana near the top of my leg. And then your left arm wraps around and just reach for your right ankle or your left ankle, right? So whichever the knee in Padmasana, you're reaching for either the thigh with your back arm or the ankle. So, and then of course there's a twist. So you're twisting. And then you're just looking straight forward. So in this pose, it's so nice. And it's just a beautiful pose. Breathe. We're just extending. We're not coming down or anything. Just extend. Breathe. And undo that. And straighten that leg out. And then bring the other leg into Padmasana if you can. Same as before. So bringing your other leg into Padmasana, bringing your foot as close to the top of your thigh. So that's Padmasana. You know, it can't really, it's too hard if it's in the middle of the thigh, isn't it? It's just too much on the bone or something. So whatever you can do here. And then you're going to take your hand and reach for the outstretched foot. And your arm is going to reach around like it did before. And of course you are twisting because that's the direction of the turn. So just twist. And then you can just look forward too and extend and breathe and breathe. And then undo and straighten both legs out. And downward facing dog. So just downward facing dog. But have room, don't have anything behind you. So come to downward facing dog. And your feet, you know, at a normal distance apart. So everything is good. Nice, feels nice after all that we've done. Straight, your legs can stretch, your spine can stretch, everything is now level. You know, we're not twisting, we're not doing anything too extreme here, except now we're gonna lift our right leg up and we're gonna push back through that right foot, like we're gonna touch something behind us. So we're gonna pull that foot as far away from the hand as possible. Stretch back, feel a lot of energy in your foot, and then bring the foot down. And then do the same on the other side. So the other leg, the left leg, is stretching back, just pushing back. Just push it back as far as you can. Yeah, right. Feels good, doesn't it? Just feels good. Because we've been doing so many bent knee poses and now we're just stretching through that leg. Bring that leg down. Beautiful. Good. Come down for a second. And then let's go back up. Downward facing dog. Stretching as strongly through the torso as you can, so that hands to the hips, so long, nice and long. Top of the legs back. Bend your knees if you feel you need to, or you know, now you know how your knees are, but hopefully they're good. We tried to be careful, right? Lift your right leg up and stretch back through it, and then lift it up as high as you can. So just feel like you're just really lifting it up, and then bring it down. And then orient yourself back to center, back to the center of yourself. But now lift the left leg up and push back through it as strongly as you can. And then lift it up really high, so you're really lifting it up. And then bring it down. And be in your pose, be in your downward facing dog. Beautiful. Now come down and Shirshasana. So headstand. And if headstand's good for you today, that's great. If for any reason you would like to use, just take your legs up the wall today, that would be good, because what we're going to do in Shirshasana is we're going to take our legs wide and then we're going to bring our legs into Baddha Konasana. We're going to take our legs wide and we're going to bring our legs into Baddha Konasana. If your legs are up the wall, you can take your legs wide and bring your legs into Baddha Konasana. So I just want to say that in case anybody, today's not the day. Yeah, in case it's not the day. Shirshasana though, if it is. If Shirshasana's the day, go up into Shirshasana. So of course, everything in Shirshasana is oriented from the forearms and the wrists and the shoulders. So your head is down, your forearms are really down, your wrists are really down, your shoulders are up. You're lifting your shoulders up. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Stretch to your inner legs so that your inner feet get as high or higher than your outer feet. Because it's hard to know, isn't it? You can't see your feet, but you want to feel like the inner legs have quite a bit of length, because that does relate to the spine. Now breathe and take your legs wide. Just as comfortable, being comfortable, of course. Oh, that's really good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And then bring your legs back. Beautiful. Wow. Good, guys. Now bring your feet into Baddha Konasana. So, yeah, good. You're still thinking forearms down, shoulders up, neck long, Beautiful. Now, from Baddha Konasana, wide legs, if you can take your legs wide from Baddha Konasana. Oh, that looks good, you guys. Yeah, nice. And then now draw your legs back together toward the center and up, and stretch up with your legs, stretch up with your legs. Yeah, beautiful. Really, this is a beautiful pose. Nice. Good. Take your legs wide. Great. Really nice. That's so nice. Then just bring your legs back together. And then just very carefully, we're going to come down. We're going to press our forearms down and we're going to come down. So it wasn't the longest Shirshasana, but it sure looked pretty. So be in child's pose now. And now come up. And all you're going to need is your sticky mat, but I'm also going to suggest that you might want a blanket support behind you. So I'm going to tell you what we're going to do Anatasana, Vishnu's couch. And I want this to be comfortable. I know that's Vishnu's couch is all about being on the razor's edge. You know, you're right on the edge of your torso. We're going to start on our left side. What I'm going to do for what I've been doing when I want to have a nice, easy pose here, because I'm at the end of my practice maybe, is I lie on my side, but my blanket support is behind my lower back and buttocks. So you're going to lie down on your left side. So I won't mirror you. Just be on your left side and you stretch your left arm away and bring your feet in line with each other. And here, we haven't bent our elbow yet, but definitely what we're going to want to feel is the arches of the feet are going to line up with the elbow. So before we even bend our elbow, just make sure your arm is really stretched, and then bend that elbow and put your hand under your ear. And then then what often happens is the elbow comes a little forward and it's not in line with the arches anymore. So you have to move the elbow back. And then you move your rib cage forward. And then, but now are we comfortable? See if you're like me, I'm against this. I'm not against it, but it's there. You know what I mean? I'm not really leaning on it, but that blanket is there. So I know I can be really extended in this pose and I won't feel tippy. So we're going to bend our right knee, and then we're going to reach in front of the shin for our big toe. And we're going to grab our big toe or use a belt if you should need that. And breathe. So try to take your knee more toward the ceiling as opposed toward the other wall in front of you. And lift your chest. So feel like the arches of your feet are stretching away from your elbow and your chest is stretching toward your elbow, and lift your right leg up and just be here. So now if you've got something for support behind you, it's like, oh, you feel pretty comfortable. So stretching your leg, stretching your side body, holding your hand behind your ear, and breathe. So really stretch up through that right foot. Feel like the right foot has a lot of energy, but also feel like the left foot has a lot of energy. So we're still considering the elbow and the foot on the down part of the pose to be important. Breathe. And then undo. So you bring that down, and then we go to the other side. I'm going to have to turn around so I don't turn my back to you. Did you use the support? It's nice. It's nice to have something behind you sometimes, because I remember being in this pose and the teacher standing over me, and he said, you don't be on a ledge. You know what he was saying? He was saying, don't create a ledge for yourself. Be right on the side of yourself. Be right on that razor's edge. And so, of course, that's the way we usually do practice it. It feels very challenging. So first stretch your right hand away from the arches of your feet so that you feel like everything is really long, because we're going to change that for a second when we bend the right elbow. Once you bend the right elbow, that elbow could come, mine does, comes forward, and then I have to just scoot it back. And then I take my hands under my ribs and I roll my ribs so that my chest doesn't have a chance of looking down. And then you're trying to get your feet as organized as possible. Be on the side. And bend your left knee and reach in front with your arm. Grab your toe. Stretch your leg up. So extending up, but not worrying because there's something behind me. Should I lose my razor's edge here? What really matters, and this is the hard part because it's totally anatomical and you are who you are, but it's if you can get that outer armpit down. If that's down on the floor, then your life is a lot easier. Your leg that's stretching up, put a lot of energy into it, put a lot of pressure into your toe. Your arm is stretching with it, so it's both the arm and the leg. Breathe. Just breathe. Because usually I don't stay in this forever, But when I'm in like this, I think, oh, I could stay a little longer. And then I could really be in the pose. Then it wouldn't be so much of a trying to stay in the pose as much as it would be just being in the pose. And then undo. And then dog pose, downward facing dog. So pressing into your hands, lifting your spine up. Breathing, enjoying. Sit bones up, abdomen firm, legs long. Everybody looks great. Beautiful. I wish we all were together. If we were together, then there would be a nice adjustment to put my hands on your lower back, right about at your waist, and just push up with my hands and just lengthen your spine that way. So just feel like somebody's hands are on your sacrum, just helping you lift up higher, then making it easier, pushing weight into your legs, really. Isn't that what it does? It always does, but nobody ever complains. It's because it feels so good. Once you get your legs really firmly back, then your spine is so nice. That looks beautiful, everybody. Really looks good. Now come down and come into child's pose just for a second. Come into a short child's pose. And now get what you need for shoulder stand. So shoulder stand could be a regular Sarvangasana with your blankets and your belt. It also could be Setubandha on a block. It could be on a chair. So whatever you would prefer, because we're going to be here a bit of time. So whatever is comfortable for you to be in this pose. So everybody's getting into their pose now, whatever their choice. And then, you know, if you start in a regular Sarvangasana, you come through a Halasana for sure, you can. And if you're in the chair, of course, you start with your legs straight up. And if you're Setubandha, your legs are up as well. So whatever your choice, it's all good. Yeah. So if you're, let's just start if you're on the chair. So if you are in the chair and your legs can touch, if your feet can touch something, but like Jen, that's not true for you. So your legs are better off straight up, I think. And then the one thing that you can always do, and I'm talking to Jen, is you can take your legs back toward the chair back, but it's not as nice as when you have something to put your feet into. If you're straight up and down in shoulder stand, which is a great one too, then we walk our hands closer to our shoulders so that we keep walking our hands down toward our shoulders and pulling the skin on our back up toward our buttocks. And breathe. So you get into your pose and you stretch your legs up and you get the best purchase you can on your back. So if you're on the block, of course, your back is suspended between the tops of your shoulders and your sacrum. And the same for the chair. You've got your buttocks on the chair and your shoulders down. And if you're in the three blankets business, then you're holding on to your back. And no matter what, you are successfully trying to come to the top of your shoulders, not so much to the shoulder blade area, but more to the very top of the shoulders. And then when you do that, your chin starts moving closer to your chest. And then if you're in the whatever pose you're in, whatever version of it you're in, that's the pose as you're toward more of the top of your shoulders and breathing. And now take your legs and take them as wide as you can. Comfortably though, take them wide. Feel like they're stretching away from each other. It always feels good to me in shoulder stand, actually, to do that. And stretch through your heels and stretch through the soles of your feet and stretch, everything should feel really energized through your legs into your feet, and breathe and breathe. And then bring your legs into Baddha Konasana. Just bend your knees and touch your feet. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. And so when you touch your feet, of course, you can't see them. So you're trying to determine whether your heels are lined up and your toes are lined up, and you're making sure that that's happening. And with your knees wide like this, the other thing is this is harder, but you're trying to take your knees back and your feet forward. I know that just sounds, you're doing what you can do and it looks really great, but isn't that the challenge? To take the feet further forward and the knees further back? Bring your knees together now and straighten your legs up. Take your legs back up. and stretch your legs up. So outer legs are going up, inner legs are going up, inner ankles are going up, soles of your feet are going up, the arches of your feet are going up, everything is going up with your legs. And your back is supported either because your hands are there. And so if your hands are there, you're still, working. It's a continuous effort, isn't it? To keep taking your hands lower and your legs up higher. So let's just keep working on that. And it looks really beautiful. And breathe. Now take your legs wide again. Extend your legs away from each other. Beautiful. So wide legs, two independent legs connected to each other through the torso. Just stretch through your heels, stretch through your feet, stretch through your inner and outer legs, just breathing. That's beautiful. Really looks nice. Really looks nice. And then bring the legs back to Baddha Konasana. Bring your feet into Baddha Konasana. Just joining your feet. So with your feet touching then, you can actually use the pressure against each foot to take the knees wider. So it isn't so much trying to, we're just trying, everybody looks so good. That's great. So your feet could maybe come a little forward. Your knees could maybe go a little back, but basically we're connecting. We're connecting through the feet. We're connecting everything that we can. That looks great. Bring your knees back together. Stretch your legs up. Good. Breathe. So if you're in traditional shoulder stand, then I want you to take, but nobody else do this until I say tell it what to do. If you're in traditional shoulder stand, take your right leg halfway down. If you're on the block or if you're in the chair, take your leg a little bit toward your face, not much, because you will see that you can't. You'll see how far you can go. And that's true on the blocks. I do this all the time, and I know, I know what the difference between being in traditional Sarvangasana and not. Bring that leg back up. Everybody looks great. That was the idea. It's you're weighing the balance of the pose. Every time you do something like this, do the other leg, the left leg, halfway down. Or if you're on the block or the chair, not so far, because you can't. I mean, you can't come into Halasana from the chair, believe me. Don't want to do that. Stretch both legs, of course, but do your best and breathe. And then stretch those both legs back up. And bring your legs back to Baddha Konasana now. So you're touching the soles of your feet, spreading your knees apart. And breathing. And then from Baddha Konasana, widen your legs into wide legs. Oh, that looks great. Good. Breathe. Stretching through your legs, feeling like both legs are equally connected to the torso, to the hips. The feet are stretching. That looks great. Bring your legs back up. Nice. Stretch up through your inner legs. Stretch up through your outer legs. Stretch up through your feet. Yeah, so that everything is up. And that looks great. And breathe. Now, if you are in regular Sarvangasana on the 3 blankets with the belt, then come to Halasana. And if you are on the block, start bending your knees and bringing your feet down. If you're on the chair, start bringing your buttocks down off the chair so that you come to the level that your shoulders were on. And if you're in regular Sarvangasana, start rolling out. Start rolling out and letting your back lengthen as you do. Lengthen your back. If you're in the block, you come down systematically, level by level. If you're in the chair and then your buttocks are on where your shoulders are, then you can move your buttocks off that and rest your legs on the place where your shoulders were. So we all have ways to come out of it. Sarvangasana is Mr. Iyengar's not favorite pose, but it's the pose he thought was the most important. And you could see that by how much he wrote about it and how much he thought it affected everything from the inner organs to the skin, to the brain, to the heart, to everything. He just went on and on and on. And when you do it, you really do feel that. Now, roll out of whatever you're doing now and find a comfortable way to do child's pose. If you have a chair there, you could fold your arms over the chair and put your head on it, or you could just do regular child's pose. But something to lengthen your back, so relax everything about your back. Now, come up, and then we're going to have what you're going to need for Shavasana. But first, before we do Shavasana, we'll lie on our back and squeeze our knees in and do a little bit of passive twisting. So just lie on your back, draw your knees into your chest. You can hold on behind your knees if that would feel better, because we did do a lot of knee things. And then take your knees, draw them together, and your feet together, and your knees up towards your chest, and your arms to the side, palms up. So then stretch through your fingers, and feel your shoulders. Feel your shoulders, your buttocks, the back of your head, and take your knees to the right. And so just with your knees bent, so just take your knees over to the right, keeping your left shoulder down. So go slow, so go as far as you can. It's almost like you could tip over, except that left shoulder wouldn't let you. Come as far as you can, and then come back to center. And then stop there for a second. Center yourself mentally, and then your right shoulder is going to be down as we take our knees to the left. So take your knees to the left, and just be aware of how nice it feels on that armpit, the right armpit, right shoulder. Breathe. Bring your knees back up. And now hold your right knee into your chest and take your left leg out onto the floor. So you're stretching your left leg away and your right knee is in. Hold the right knee with your left hand. Take your right arm to the side. Go over onto your left hip. So you're going to the left hip. You're just keeping your right shoulder down. So you can only go as far as you can go, and breathe. And then come back to center. And now bring your left knee in and stretch your right leg out. So the right leg is extended, the left knee is in. Hold the left knee with your right hand. Take your left arm to the side, palm up. Turn onto your right hip. So you're going toward The left shoulder stays down as the left knee goes to the right. Just breathing, stretching. And then come back to center. And then set yourself up for Shavasana. So whatever you need, whether it's something under your knees, definitely something for your head, maybe a blanket. It's a little chillier in my house. So if you need a blanket to set up, but be as comfortable as you can, because we'll have a nice Shavasana. So you have plenty of time to really get into your Shavasana. So, of course, once you do lie down, then there's a little bit more work to do before you can completely let go. And one of the things you want to make sure you do is lengthen your lower back. So you can take your buttock flesh and move it away from your waist. And then the other thing that you might want to do is get your shoulders underneath you a little better. Maybe you'd have to see how that would go. You pick your shoulder blades up, the bottom shoulder blades up, and try to scoot them lower so that the center of the shoulder blades is down a little more. And then, of course, if you're using a blanket for your head, that blanket comes under your neck as well. But if your head is right on the floor, then nothing under your neck. So then once you get there and your legs are completely comfortable and relaxed, and your arms are completely comfortable and relaxed, palms up, just spread across the center of your chest towards your hands. Just feel like the energy is moving not only top to bottom, but side to side. And a lot of the poses that we did tonight, we're lengthening from the crown of the head to the tailbone. We also broadened considerably in our poses tonight. So our back body really broadened. Now broaden your front body. Now broaden and relax your front body and let your back body just sink. So sink your back body down and just soften and spread. Spread the skin and the energy and the breathing from top to bottom and side to side. It's all works so beautifully. Just relax your face from the hairline toward the eyebrows. The forehead skin can be very soft. And from the forehead toward the chin, toward the neck, the face is very relaxed downward. The face is down, away from the crown of the head. But the face is also spreading sideways from the bridge of the nose toward the temples, toward the earlobes, toward the jaw. Relax your tongue. Relax your tongue on the lower palate. Just feel your heels and your calves and your buttocks. And just relax and release your lower body. Just completely relax and sink your lower body down. Right across the center of the ribs, toward the edges of your torso, relax sideways, center sideways and down. It's just very, very comforting to know this form of relaxation and to know what it does for us, because we know that at the end of our class, this is always our pose. And every time you do the pose, and we know this, it reflects back on other poses that we did today, but other Shavasanas we've done in the past. So our practice is not just a single day. Our practice is really a lifetime of doing our poses and then doing Shavasana. So Gita Iyengar would say after every Shavasana, she said, well, there's another pearl for the necklace. And I thought that was a beautiful way of putting it, because every time you do it, you are creating a jewel. And the jewel is stemming from your heart. And your heart is open and lifted. And your breathing is beautiful. Start allowing your inhalation to be a little more focused now, and maybe a slightly fuller inhalation as long as you're thinking about it. And just be here now. We're going to start coming back to our day. So take a fuller inhale and a little bit longer exhale. So it's all just very, very rhythmic, isn't it? Our whole practice, and then coming out of it is the same. Just a ritual and a way we know how to be. Bring your hands onto your abdomen. Thank your body. Open and close your eyes a couple of times if you like. When you're ready, just roll over to the right side. Rest with your head on your arm for a second or a moment. So we don't come up too quickly, because we're savoring this something that we've gotten here, and it's going to extend beyond the practice. So when you look down at the floor, then you press with your hands and come up to a sitting position.